Welcome back to Money in the Tank. We're doing something a bit different this week. We're trying out a Zoom call, and I'm Arnie, tax professional.
G'day guys, Joel Seach here, Principal Financial Advisor.
And we've got our mate Gabs. Gabs, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm a digital marketer and I also run training programs to help small business owners grow their business online. And I've been doing that the last 2 years.
Cheers, Gabs. So yeah, we thought this week, Tankers, that we might delve into being an entrepreneur, and with a focus on, I guess, setting up a side hustle, because we sort of talk about personal finance on this podcast, and this is a good opportunity to speak to someone who's done it, as well as Jolie as well. Actually, we'll get some insights from you too, mate, because you've done it as well. But before we jump into that, we've got to do our favourite segment, which is Rivskin's Rules. You got it handy, Jolie?
Absolutely, mate. So we've got some Rivkin's rules here, and then we'll do a quick update on the latest in the market, if there's anything that we can do. And then we've got some great 50-50s and Q&As at the end as well. So hang around for that today also. In terms of the Rivkin's rules, I've got the book sitting right by my side here. So it's just sitting next to the computer. So we've got... we're still on Renee's favourite Rivkinisms, which is where I tend to like the most. So we've got, I am flabbergasted that I have become so well known. I didn't try to cultivate it. It just sort of happened over time. So a little bit of a plug there for himself. Rivkin on page 138. So well-known Rivkin, obviously seemed to like a bit of the fame as well.
Don't know how we can apply that back to ourselves. Maybe we just let the growth happen organically. Well, that's contrary to what Gabs would say. Gabs is going to teach us how to promote ourselves a bit better. So,
absolutely.
I got a couple of news items quickly, which I'll just touch on, which is related to stocks that I'm interested in. Ford in America released the F-150 Lightning commercial, which is their electric vehicle, like a truck. And I found it interesting because apparently it can power your home for up to 3 days if you've got a power outage. And it's got 11 plugs throughout the car. So if you're like a mobile business or a tradie, you can just use this car as your power source anywhere you go.
Did you say it was electric F-150, Arnie?
It's the electric F-150, mate.
Yeah,
And if they want to check it out, you can go Google the commercial, which aired in America recently. Very impressive. Other news, AMD partnered with Tesla for their in-game gaming system. So the in-game gaming system as powerful as a PS5. So did you have anything you want to talk about in the market, Jolie?
So that was partnering with Tesla, was it?
AMD is now partnering with Tesla to provide the in-car entertainment experience.
What happened? Do you know what happened to both those companies' stock prices?
Ford, off the back of their Lightning news, jumped up about 15% in about 2 days.
Yep.
AMD had a rise, and Tesla has just sort of been going down, up and down, like pretty flat.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Probably more of an overview for the month of June in terms of the markets. So we've sort of got the American market had a decent run, and I guess started the first week of June a bit of a high note as well, because the COVID cases there continue to decline and vaccinations rise. So I think more than half the US population's now at least one dose of vaccination in. So essentially that just shows how the market, is improving over time, even though we're not out of the woods yet from a COVID standpoint. And obviously we know from Victoria too, but, just sort of, I guess you can see some of these other countries now that are rolling out the vaccinations really quickly. You can see how the market's moving very quickly, and the return to their normal is also returning as well quite rapidly.
Well, hopefully we can get bloody vaccinated here quickly. And I guess we're also going to touch on the D's, beat the dogs, go D's.
Yeah, it was a great win, and I was on the fan zone thing, which was a bit of fun too. Got my mate Ryan, shout out to Ryan, avid listener of the podcast. He got us on the fan zone, me and the kids and the missus. So we had a good fun with all the other Demon supporters on there, and it was a good way to spend the Friday night in lockdown, and better that we got a win too.
Who do you go for, Gabs?
I don't really follow football, but I do go for Collingwood.
Oh, that's all right.
That's terrible. It's by force in my family.
All right. Well, without further ado, we might as well jump into the interview. Gabs, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur and how you got started as one, your journey to becoming to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So I think probably ever since high school, I wanted to have my own business, but I didn't really know what that was going to be, what that would look like. And I had some other career aspirations as well. So I went to uni. I've had a few different types of careers and was never really satisfied with any of them. And I've had a couple of businesses before this as well. So I had a personal styling business and I also had an online store. So I had an e-commerce business where I was importing jewelry and selling jewelry online and also wholesaling. So I've tested a couple of things, and through those businesses, I learned a lot of digital marketing skills. And this is the first business that I've done full time. So yeah, it's kind of, that's been my journey, just learning myself and realizing how great it is to work for yourself, all the benefits of it, seeing a lot of other small business owners wanting to do the same. And I guess having some of those same dreams, wanting the flexibility, wanting some freedom, financial independence, and yeah, just teaching people what I've learned from my
That's
experience.
cool. And would you say that the first forays into being an entrepreneur, so the other businesses before this one, would you consider, like, you were doing okay in those? It wasn't like you failed in them, was it? It's just that this is where you sort of naturally were drawn
Well,
to?
I just wasn't as committed. Yeah, they were my interests. So personal styling, I was doing a lot of that through one of my first careers, and then I decided to go out on my own. Quickly decided I didn't like a few things about that particular industry, and then e-commerce, I was always interested in that. And I guess over the progression with technology, the barrier to entry became quite easy because you could set up a Shopify store. It was quite simple to do that, and I taught myself how to build websites on a couple of different platforms. And just the access to information online, you can Google anything and you can learn anything that you want. So yeah, I think that I've just tested a few things and seeing what I didn't get bored with. That's the most important
I
thing for
reckon you
me.
touched on the major reason why people who are looking to develop some kind of financial independence should explore being an entrepreneur, because even as a side gig, the barriers to entry is so low right now, and you hit the nail on the head. You can literally learn anything you want on something like YouTube. You may as
Hmm.
well give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I guess the other two businesses I had, I was working full time and then part time and doing one of them. But yeah, this one I just decided to go all in on.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great, Gabby, and it's a great rundown to hear what you've done leading into what you're doing now, which I think does sort of create, I guess, a pathway for where you've been and where you're headed, and you probably had some great learnings along the way as well, and seeing how much things have changed over that period of time, especially from a social media standpoint too, and a tech standpoint. So. Tell us a bit about, I guess, your current overview of your business, what you're doing, some of the main areas or niches you work in from a social media and a marketing standpoint that be good for the tankers to hear about, but also from your experience, some of the key areas that can really help with getting your business noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mainly do work with female entrepreneurs. So sorry, guys, if you're listening, but you can still take some tips away. But when I started my business, I started a Facebook group where I was sharing free marketing tips with female business owners. So a lot of the people in that group are either e-commerce businesses, they hand make their own products. So maybe they have just started a bit of a hobby business and they want to grow that. Maybe they do markets, for example. And I also have service-based entrepreneurs. So perhaps people that teach yoga, or they might be physio, for example. So I serve quite a broad market, and the clients that I have are broad. Some have a bricks and mortar business as well as online, and they're trying to build their online business, and some are purely online. So I like having different businesses I can work with in terms of finding out what works in the market, what marketing channels are popular. So, for example, Instagram is the one everyone's using, and that's definitely the one I get the most questions about, and what people are trying to make work for their business because it's easy, it's free to access. Same with Facebook. I also find email marketing a really powerful online marketing tool, which a lot of people are a bit scared to get into. And then paid ads, so Facebook ads and Google ads as well.
Why are people scared of email?
I think a lot of the time they don't know what to say, and they're also scared of the technology. So they're not really sure how to get started. Like Instagram's easy. You download it on your phone, you create an account name, and you can start posting it. So you can do everything from your phone, but email marketing, maybe you need to research what email platform to use, and you need to find ways to get people to sign up to an email list. And You need to create content. So I don't know. It's just, I think people aren't, they're not confident with it for some reason.
And from an economic standpoint, Gabby, I guess the past, 18 months we're almost up to with the pandemic that we've gone through. Have you seen that rapid increase to the shift to online purchasing that I think that the pundits might have expected as a normal progression was not going to be anywhere near as rapid, but it's a sort of reading that looks like it's increased quite significantly the past 18 months, and people that might not have been doing it or doing it not a lot have now really sort of ramped up their use of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when the pandemic first started in Australia, maybe the first couple of weeks, people were quite nervous in the communities that I'm in. And then all of a sudden they're having their biggest year ever. So anyone that was already online or made some really rapid changes to get themselves online, they had a massive year. But I think at the moment I'm noticing there's a bit of ebb and flow. So some people are having really good months and some people are quieter than they've ever been. So I think one of my clients called it the COVID come down, that after like a year of online shopping and everyone's like spending a lot of money to cheer them up, maybe people are backing off a bit and their finances aren't what they were maybe during lockdown, and there's a bit of uncertainty.
That's interesting, isn't it? I know I spent a lot in the first part of the lockdown on stuff I normally wouldn't buy at all.
Yeah.
For that reason, I was like, what else we got to do, man? There's nothing much to do. So. Can I take it back just one step? You're talking about social media, Gabs, and I'm curious about the uptake in TikTok. And do you like deal with that at all?
I don't. And I have played around with TikTok a little bit. It's not really the target market that any of my clients have a demographic in. So TikTok's a much younger demographic, maybe aimed towards more high school, so teenage kids or early 20s. And that's just not where any of my clients are selling. So I haven't experimented with it a lot, but the brands that I have seen testing it out, they're getting amazing reach. It's absolutely a tool you could use if you have the right customer. If your customer's on TikTok, it could go crazy.
Yeah, I've heard that the way the algorithm works there is that the more, I'm not sure about how the system works. I don't have TikTok, but I've heard that the more popular your video is, like the broader the reach becomes. So if you really go viral, you go
viral. People have, and I've seen a few businesses I follow just test out TikTok for themselves to see what would happen. And their video has gone viral. It's not to say though that they're selling more, but because TikTok doesn't have a direct channel where you can buy directly from TikTok. And it's not like Instagram where you can click on an item and shop for it. But if you want reach and brand awareness, it could be massive for some brands.
Sometimes maybe any publicity could be good publicity.
Yeah, exactly.
Those people might sort of, see your brand and go to Instagram or Facebook and like you through there. And then they might have future customers or purchases in the future as well. So, very, very interesting. And Arnie, you had another question for Gabby.
Yeah, it was kind of building off your question before, Jolie, but it was more about, as an aside, I love that you're supporting women entrepreneurs, because I read a statistic that something like only 20% of venture capital funding goes to women entrepreneurs, or maybe even less than that. So they need a leg up. But the question was coming off the back of Jolie's was tips for any small businesses that want to focus on building their brand. What are the easy, simple steps you can do if you've done nothing, Gabs?
Also, Gabby, before we go there, is thanks for jumping on the podcast today and diversifying our gender gap too.
Am I your first lady guest?
Yeah, we've only had blokes on, so there you go. So
you are our first lady guest. Yeah,
have to get a few more lady guests on to even up the ledger.
Got to rep the ladies.
Sorry,
I think it's and I think it's interesting that you brought up that point, because probably in finance especially, it is an industry that is probably dominated by guys. So hopefully can find some female experts in the areas you guys specialize in.
We got a few more teed up, a few more
ladies
coming on. So
got a few girls we know that will get on. So good.
I won't make an inappropriate comment, right? You love the ladies. All right. So what can small businesses do? Easy ways to get your brand out there. Was that the question?
Yeah, just tips for people who have done nothing. What's the way that they should start building the brand online?
Yeah, sure. So I guess first have an online presence. So whether that is a website, a Facebook page, an Instagram account, but make sure it's relevant to your target audience. So, for example, if those people we were talking about with TikTok, if your audience is 15 years old, they're going to be hanging out in a different place online than somebody that is 30 or 60 years old. So it's true, right? Like the people who's the person that uses Facebook, or, maybe people our age mainly use Facebook and Instagram. So just really understanding who it is I'm selling to and where are they going to be online? What marketing channels would actually be the most appropriate before you put any energy into those. Then
That's
go ahead
really,
and does that make sense?
Sorry, go on. I was going to say that's like, it sounds intuitive now that you say it, but I wouldn't have thought about it in those terms until I heard you speak, like spell it out.
Yeah. So like, for example, for you guys, maybe LinkedIn would be a really good place for you to promote your business, because there's a lot of professional people that maybe want to learn a bit more about the topics you talk about. So just understand, jump in, John.
Because it's obviously a finance podcast with someone starting up their business or a side hustle, they might not have a heap of cash to throw at things. So you mentioned before that Instagram and Facebook are free. I know LinkedIn has a premium page. You've got, I guess, starting up a web page. What's sort of your estimated costs of starting something up in terms of getting those things organised and hosting, and whether or not you get someone to engage on a social media thing for you too?
Yeah, sure. It's quite a broad question because it depends on where you want to invest your money. And from my perspective, the people that I work with often don't have a lot of money to invest straight away. So my recommendation, if you're really just starting out, is just go for the lowest cost option possible to an extent. But if that's something that might hold you back in business, saying, I can't afford a $10,000 website to start out with. Well, don't do that to start out with. Just start with something. And then as you get some more money coming through your business, you can invest in fancier things, new branding, professional logos, maybe some consulting if that's what you're looking for, or help with social media. But, in terms of a website, it depends on the platform that you invest in and what you build on. It could be $2,000. It could be $10,000. It depends what type of business you want to set up. So if you're e-commerce, Shopify's a good option because you pay a monthly fee, and that can be a really quick way to get yourself started. I think it really just depends in terms of if you want to outsource some social media, you can hire someone called a virtual assistant. And maybe they're about $30 an hour, depending if they're local or overseas. And that could be something you invest in to help you create some content. I'd just say outsource what you cannot do. So for me, I taught myself a lot about web development. I'm not a coder at all, but I just taught myself enough that I could do what I needed to. Maybe in hindsight, it wasn't the best investment of my time because I could have outsourced that, got it done quicker and not had that stress. But I like learning. So it depends if somebody is, I guess, getting held back by like worrying about the tech or worrying about social media. That would be the good thing to outsource.
Yep, there's always people to help and always experts and SMEs to help you in certain areas where you might not be as strong, or if you've got that inclination to want to learn, you can, as we said at the start of the podcast, you got Google and you can learn a lot of things online as well. So, and then you mentioned in there reinvesting in yourself, reinvesting in the business as you progress. So you might start with a lower cost website just to get it up there, but then you might find that, that's going to add benefit to the business, as you go or as you progress. So potentially reinvesting into that area, or you're reinvesting into socials. So as you progress, you work out what your target market is, what's bringing in the most bang for buck, and you reinvest there.
I think that's really good, and we got a bit of free advice there, Jolie. LinkedIn, we got to set one up.
I feel like you could even do TikTok. You could do some tips, video tips. You'd be good at that.
TikTok, yeah. The young demographic talk about finance and super with them.
Why not?
We might get glazed eyes if they're doing that.
Can you do any dances, Jolie?
I actually did a dance with my daughter last night, so maybe I can put that to TikTok. We can make it a finance dance or something.
You're the official Money in the Tank TikToker from now on. I want to see moves.
With TikTok, you choose the music. I don't know if you guys have it, but you choose like popular songs, or you choose certain songs to go over the top of your videos. So you could choose all money related songs, and that would be fun.
Oh, I love that.
It. Great.
Some heavy gangster rap theme like money songs.
Exactly.
That's so good.
You got the next one, Jolie?
I do, mate. Yeah. So Gabby, the next question we wanted to, I guess, find out a bit more about was, and I did mention it briefly at the start, was biggest mistakes for people starting up or entrepreneurs that are starting up or budding entrepreneurs to avoid, or even things in your own experience, things to be mindful of, or some of the pitfalls you might have had that can help, I guess, anytime people can learn from someone's experiences or things to avoid, it can really help speed up their process too, because they're not having to, I guess, rectify mistakes that could be avoidable.
Yeah. All right. So I guess one is not having any plan or strategy for their marketing, or maybe for their business overall. So maybe they've got an idea and they start putting it out there, but perhaps they're posting randomly on social media. They don't really know what their audience is interested in. They're just kind of seeing what sticks. And a lot of the time, nothing is really sticking because they haven't got a strategy or any goals or a purpose behind what they're sharing on social media. So that's probably the first one. And then they're sort of overwhelmed. They don't know what to do next. That would be one of the biggest ones I come across. Another one that I come across is not realizing how hard it's going to be. And I'm not sure if you guys can relate to this, but you have a great idea. You think everyone will love it. You want to put it out there, but it's actually quite a hard slog. And there's a lot of other competitors or a lot of other noise on Instagram, for example, and just trying to get your message out there, promote yourself. It's not an overnight success. So I think people then give up too quickly because they didn't realize how hard that was going to be.
What about from like a business setting up perspective, Gabs? Did you have any trouble? Like, I know you've done it a couple of times, but like, how did you find the process of, going through all the rigmarole with government and like picking the right structure and all that kind of stuff?
So I've always been a sole trader and I never really looked at any other options at the time, and I haven't still to date. But I think it's pretty easy. Like getting an ABN's easy. Anything admin, tax, finance, it's not my strong suit. Like I like creativity, I like strategy, I like the bigger picture. I don't necessarily like the nitty-gritty stuff. So, for me, I have to outsource those things. It's not something I'll ever do myself. I have no interest in it. I like making money, but I don't like thinking about all the other stuff that goes along with it. So yeah, I guess that's the case for a lot of small business owners too. That stuff can be a bit daunting or overwhelming.
Yeah, but as we said before, don't let it be a roadblock, because you can outsource the areas of maybe weakness or areas that you lack interest in, and concentrate on the areas that you do, excel in, or areas that you want to focus more of your time in to create that better balance, your work-life balance, and you're doing more of what you love, and you're trying to outsource things that you don't tend to enjoy doing as much. And there's always people that are, able to take those tasks on for you, e.g. accountants in that regard too. So, and I guess, Arnie, you mentioned as well, from my own standpoint of being an entrepreneur and setting things up, all those areas that Gabby spoke about with, setting things up, depending on the structure and whatnot, there's a raft of different areas that you can go down. And I think as well, when you're running your own business day to day, you can get quite busy in doing all tasks and doing things. So it's really important to have that business plan in mind and be able to take a step out of your business to work on your business and not in your business every single day of the week. So it's really important to create an overview of where you're headed, the direction you're headed, and how best to take that path. Because if you always head to the grindstone and you're always working on tasks or client things, then you never putting yourself first, and essentially your business or yourself or your company is the most important thing to be working on, because if you don't work on that, it could then erode all the other offerings that you're providing as well.
Yeah, bloody good input from both of you, I guess. The other thing I was sort of thinking about, and maybe I'll ask you both because you've both done it, is like, at what point did you like settle on the idea that you're now pursuing? Because I feel like that's the first roadblock that entrepreneurs will face is, what am I going to do? Like, what business should I do? And it sounds like you both sort of picked businesses where you're both strong. But I wonder, like, if you had a brainstorming session at first.
All right. I didn't. I was working for a digital agency. I'd finished some postgraduate study in digital marketing. And I just decided I wanted to pick my own clients. I didn't want to work with certain clients at that agency. And I didn't have a plan, to be honest, because I thought I've got a month or maybe a couple of months I had left in my studies. I'd get a part-time job and just focus on that and see what happens. And when I was getting my logo created, the person that created that, they said they needed a digital marketer. So I had my first client in my first week, and she got me some other clients because they're a B2B business. So they had a lot of other people they could refer me to. And I just started off doing a lot of social media marketing for other businesses and other digital marketing for other businesses without having a plan. So mine is still evolving, and I've moved away from doing a lot of digital marketing because I didn't want to have an agency, and moving towards more coaching and teaching small businesses and running online training programs. So I don't think I've decided yet. I'm still evolving.
You're still in the idea generation phase.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
What about you, Joel?
I think you're always learning. I think you're always progressing, and I think you're always evolving into the business of the person you're going to become, and I think every day of your life that changes. I believe so. I think I agree with Gabs in that standpoint. A couple of things there, Gabby, I wanted to quickly check with you is B2B. What does that mean for myself and the listeners? Business to business. Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Acronym. Cool. B2B. Should have known that. And the other one was you said you've sort of studies and you were doing a part-time job and you sort of try to create something for yourself. So I'm guessing you might have been early 20s when you decided to go down this route. And
it's only 2 years ago, and I'm 36.
Oh,
so
there you go. So you're a mature age student, were you, Gab?
Mature, I was, yeah.
were you in front of the class for a mature age student? I remember them back in uni days.
we all were. There was only about 7 of us because it was post-grad, so it's a little bit different.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you're mature age student. And the other question I was going to ask you was, in terms of from a financial side of things, did you, what went through your head? Because I know budding entrepreneurs or people starting up, did you sort of just back yourself in? Did you have that part-time job to sort of help supplement your income whilst things were getting up and running? How was your mindset when you were going through that side of things?
Yeah, so I didn't end up getting a part-time job because I got my first client in that first week. So I had savings, and I decided that, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, I've got savings, and let's just see what happens. Let's see if I can. Yeah, and I wouldn't 100% recommend that for everybody. I don't necessarily think it's the right decision logically, but yeah, that's what I did. And that's just what I'm like. If I'm in.
I think true entrepreneurial spirit, you sort of throw caution to the wind and you just have a go, and people will fail and you'll get up and you'll go again. And, read some books like, Richard Branson books is really, really amazing. His story of how he went, how he started up calling. I think one of the cool stories, he started calling people from a payphone because he didn't have any money, but in England, the payphone would have the call center and they'd introduce the person as Mr. Branson. So it was actually like a reverse call, but you call and they'd introduce him as Mr. Branson. So it sounded really professional. So just a funny side note there from that book, but that's a cool book for people that want to have a bit of a read about an entrepreneur like that, which is really, really interesting. But and I think the cash account and the emergency fund, which Arnie and I have spoken about before, having an emergency fund and cash there to be able to provide some stability of income does give you some backing and gives you a almost a bit of a support mechanism or a net at the bottom of the trapeze. If you do fall, you've got some cushion there to be able to get back up and go again.
It's important. It's important not to just throw caution to the wind if you don't have a good fallback plan. But I guess this kind of is a good segue into, is there anything we've missed, Gabs? Like, is there anything else that you think is important for budding entrepreneurs, our audience, to know that we haven't covered?
Yeah, there's one thing I definitely wanted to bring up, and it's based on, I guess, maybe mistakes I've made, but also seeing what works. And that's, if you're a small business, it doesn't really matter what sort of small business you are, you're different than somebody that's an established brand. So different to Myer or different to Coles. You don't have that budget. So you've got to find ways to connect with your audience. And I really think that these days, when people are buying from small businesses, they're connecting with the business owner or the team. So getting on video, making sure you're showing behind the scenes content on your social media, giving people some insight into what your brand values are. And then your followers can see if they connect with you and if they feel like you're an aligned business with what they believe in. So I think trying to get some confidence with getting on camera, testing out Instagram, doing Facebook Lives, that's one thing I'd really recommend for any small business owner.
So you're sort of an interesting one that I thought of there, Gab, and I reckon you've hit a really good point. Was you may not have, or you don't probably have the budgets starting out as your Myers and David Jones and your big corps. But what you do have is you've got the balance of the ledger on your side is your ability to be able to adjust and be a bit more niche and be able to be a bit more kind of personable when you're dealing with people, which the Myers and the David Jones, the big corps just wouldn't have the ability to be able to do that as much.
Yeah,
absolutely. You've got to leverage your relationships, right? Like you got to make people feel wanted, and I guess when you're selling a product or a service, you go the extra mile when you're a small business. I know in the past I've favoured small businesses that have made me feel like special as a customer, and I'll go back to them, even if there's a cheaper alternative. So good
Love
input.
That. Yeah, great.
We've got a few Q&As here which are relevant to being an entrepreneur, and they're both from Carl with a K. So I might ask you both as established entrepreneurs. So it'll be a bit different this week, Joel. You don't get to ask a question. So I'll start with Gabs. As an entrepreneur, how do you manage the amount of hours you work in a week?
Do you want the honest answer?
Yeah, be honest, yeah.
Sure. So if anyone asks me what my hobby is, I say it's my work. I love it, and I work 7 days a week unless there's a better offer. So I don't manage it. I don't necessarily promote that either, but I really like doing it. I work at all hours. But I guess the good thing is if I want to take an hour off in the day, if I have an appointment, if I just want to go for a walk, I have that flexibility, and which is what I really like about having my own business.
It's the reason I asked that question, and maybe I'll get Jolie's answer first, and I'll tell you why I asked that question. Jolie, how do you manage it?
In lockdown, more challenging because you sort of only got a couple of hours of exercise a day, and you're in the home office the whole time, and trying to manage your team and whatnot as well. But I guess when we're in the office, and I like sort of a mixture of both. I like doing a bit from home and a bit in the office, but and also probably because I've got a young family as well, I'm a bit more stick to that sort of 8:30 or 9 to 5 type setup, and sometimes I'll have later appointments if need be. But anytime we're dealing with new clients, especially if they're inquiring and they want to do an after hours appointment, I've always had the philosophy of we'd be able to make time during the day to be able to see someone, and I guess in a professional setting, if people are willing to give a little bit and make that time to come and see you, then they're fair dinkum, as an Aussie slang, fair dinkum, to be able to come and see you and want to see you and take that time to invest into what they're planning to try to do. So I've always been quite steadfast in that rule. Obviously, existing clients, some things come up and you need to cater for that a little bit. But yeah, I really try to keep that work-life balance in check, especially with the young kids as well, because they grow up pretty fast too.
The reason I asked that question is because anecdotally, from people who have had a go at being an entrepreneur or are successful, they've all told me that it just requires a lot of work, especially in the setting up. I felt that your answer would be, Jolie, that you have to really prioritize family, which is kind of like, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but like that's basically it, right? Like, because you have to do it because you want to do it.
Yeah, in terms of where the priorities are. So that, the business priorities are there during the day, business hours, and then anything outside of that, your family and health's really important to make sure you get that balance right in life. Because if you don't have your health right, you don't have that family balance right, then you sort of you're drifting through and your head's to the grindstone again the whole time, and it's probably not healthy for you, not healthy for your clients or your business, because I think that probably wears thin after a while, and your energy levels might struggle a little bit too in that regard as well. So really try to really important in that area. So
the next question is kind of similar to one we touched on earlier, Gabs. Again, I'll ask Gabs first, but it's, how do you manage fears in getting started? And maybe you don't need to tell us about your current business because you sort of said it worked out pretty perfectly in this one. But in your other ones, the ones you were working as a side hustle, how did you manage the fear aspect of, like, is this going to work?
Well, I think in the other businesses I had a paying job. So from a financial perspective, there wasn't as much fear around that. Like now it's probably worse because it's all on what I earn. So how do you manage it? Just keep on going. I don't know. I don't know if I have a particular strategy. It's just you have a choice, like make it work or get another job, work for somebody else, which I don't want to do. So in terms of fear, I think what I've learned is that, yeah, things are going to be scary. If you keep doing them though, you can kind of push that fear aside and just do it anyway.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. That's great.
Jolie,
answer. Yeah, that's
same
awesome.
question.
Awesome answer, Gab. And I think that there's probably going to be some good books out there. I know I've read a few over the years or listened to audiobooks about overcoming fear of worry and fear of anxiety of what's going to happen, because fear can sometimes be a something that's a roadblock that gets in your way of being able to achieve, and it does play with your mind. So I think mindset's a really powerful thing to know, that try to keep that optimistic approach and try to keep moving forwards, and you're going to experience difficult days. And, if your mindset's going to be that you're going to have hard days and that's what you expect, then if you have a great day, then it's going to be all positive from there as well. So, you sometimes have a mindset to say it's going to be a really, busy week or a tough week, or you're going to have some tough, client interactions, for example, but it turns out that it's never as bad as you sometimes think, and fear can sometimes be an overwhelming thing. So I really agree with that. Gabs. So that's probably my 2 bits on that one, Arnie, is just to keep driving forward. And the other thing about work-life balance, which I have done on my mobile phone, is I've switched off my Microsoft Outlook notifications. I used to get them at all hours of the night, and I couldn't help myself. I'd have to look at the email. So now I've switched that off, and that really helps too with that work-life balance. So I know that after 5:30 or 6, if I'm leaving the office, I just won't check the emails, because those emails will be there tomorrow, and we'll be able to get back to those emails tomorrow. Things will always be there.
That's a good.
I agree. I don't have emails on my phone at all. So other than my personal, but none of my business ones, because I've made a rule. I check my email twice a day, and any of my clients know if they need something urgent, they can send me a message on Facebook, because it's a bit more casual relationship. So if they need something urgent, they know how to reach me. But
that's nice. Yeah, good idea.
My
clients are the same. Yeah, they can call me or text me. They know if they need something urgent, they can reach me, and an email is usually there to be able to pick up the next day. So yeah, I like that. 2 times a day. That's good.
That's very disciplined. Yeah, that's very disciplined.
Because I don't like email. I like sending emails to my list, but I don't like interacting on emails. So that's just my personal preference. And I tell my clients that. I say this is my preference.
Yeah, it's sometimes easy to pick up the phone, and sometimes it's interesting with emails now, because emails you can go back and forth 20 times. Sometimes I'll create like a Loom clip for clients if they've got a bunch of questions, and I'll do a 3-minute or 4-minute Loom clip and send that back, and that tends to answer a lot of things too. So it saves the back and forth a bit, makes it a bit more efficient.
What's a Loom clip, Jolie?
Loom's just an app where you can record, and it even does subtitles, but the subtitles are a little bit sometimes off if you're not speaking clearly. But yeah, Loom's a really cool little app that you can take quick snippets with and send out links to clients, or do bulk links out for email updates. I do that a lot with market updates in my business too. So rather than sending out a newsletter or something that's a bit boring, I'll tend to be able to minimize that and do it in a 5-minute video clip, which can be hopefully a little bit more engaging, also I think anyway.
I appreciate the answers from both of you, but Jolie, I wanted to ask you, did you specifically feel fear when you're going out on your own?
Yeah, I think you always have trepidation and fear, and I think it's normal to feel that. It's like going into a sporting game. You always worry or fearful, or you have the nerves, and I think they're good things to have, because it means you're getting prepared and you're getting ready to do something. So absolutely had that, and you always have the worries. I'm going to be the right thing to do, and I'm going to be successful at it, but. That's again, your mind plays with you and plays games with you, and the fear can become overriding unless you help manage that in certain ways, and whether it be through positive mindset books or meditation, or just giving yourself a feeling that you'll be able to move through things and create positive energy around you, because fear can be overbearing.
So the answer for Carl is embrace it and find tools to manage it. That's the answer to Carl's question.
That's perfect.
All right. We've got this, my favourite segment, maybe Jolie's favourite segment too, in addition to Rivkin's Rules, Gabs, which is 50-50 or this or that, or what's your choice. And during the week, I was talking to my wife, Kate, about this, and she said you should call it gun to your head, because sometimes she really doesn't want to pick one.
Gun to your head, I love it.
Yeah, she was saying that last week we did cappuccino versus latte, and she's like, you guys are the worst Melburnians, not including a flat white. But
well, you're gonna bring me up on that, weren't you, for authenticity, Arnie? Because Kenny originally asked flat white or latte, and I said, well, I don't drink either of them, so can you throw a cappuccino in there? So I avoid out the flat white question and put cappuccino in place of it.
I can't believe you've doctored the listener's question. Kenny, we apologise.
No, Kenny said, he goes, that's fine, that's all right. But Kenny's true question was wanting to know flat white. I didn't know flat whites were that popular.
Well, apparently it's a very Melburnian thing, and Kate was like, gun to my head, I'd choose a latte, but it's flat white every time.
Sounds pretty boring, Kate. It sounds like something your husband would have.
Or maybe she said cappuccino. Maybe I'm misrepresenting it because I want someone on my team. But, actually, before we get to this week's 50-50, and Gab, the reason we do 50-50 is because it highlights that in personal finance and in investment and things like that, that choice, everyone's got different choices that they make, and not everyone's the same. So that's sort of how we bring it back. But just before we get to this week,
cappuccino or a latte?
Yeah, I was going to say before this week's one, cappuccino, latte,
I did
or
listen
flat
to
white.
that podcast. I take an almond latte.
Okay.
Almond latte. Yep. This is on that. My wife
Is
has the
she?
almond latte. Yeah, she loves it. I don't mind a bit of almond milk every now and then. Almond milk mockers, I don't mind.
All right, so this week's 50-50, if you had to choose a CEO for your business that's not yourself, would you choose Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? and why?
All right. I'd choose Elon Musk.
Why?
Just ethically. Look, obviously they're both super smart and very successful people, but probably just his creativity, maybe his personality a bit more as well. And for me, if I'm working with anyone, I need to be able to have open dialogue and conversation. And Jeff Bezos, I respect what he's done. I don't respect what he's doing.
Okay. You don't like that he's trying to take over the world?
Well,
put small businesses out of business, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
They like to say they're creating a platform for small business, don't they? But,
well, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know there's 50-50 either. As always, Arnie and I like to keep it a secret from each other. So I'd probably say Elon as well, because I think it'd be a bit of a hoot being around him during the day. He's a pretty quirky dude. Might be able to get some inside tips as to what he's going to tweet overnight. So I might be able to, stock up on whatever crypto or stock he's pushing. So
you think he's a bit of a pumper, Dogecoin?
Pumps it up. So he'd be a hoot to be around. He'd be a fun dude, very eccentric.
Well, I'm gonna go contrarian to both of you, because I agree that Musk could be a funner dude to hang around with. But if I want someone to run my business, I'm choosing Bezos, because I feel like he is just established an absolute behemoth, and I want him to replicate it for me. And I also think that there's less key man risk. I feel like Amazon without Jeff will be fine. Tesla without Elon, I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like that's the mark of a better CEO for me, anyway. So that's who I would choose.
Yeah, I think you're right on that point too, Arnie.
Anyway, that's bloody good pod. Thanks for coming on, Gabs. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all the info for the tankers. Do you want to tell the tankers where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. Probably Instagram's the best spot to find me, and I'll let you share my name in the link maybe, because it's a little hard to spell.
Can I share your Instagram handle in our?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, no worries.
And it's for the ladies only, Gabs, ladies only club.
the Facebook. I feel so bad saying that. The Facebook group is only for the ladies. But look, I work with couples, and I've definitely worked with some male business owners as well. I'm not discriminatory, but it's just who my target market is.
Well, if Arnie puts a wig on and has a shave, he might be able to filter. You might be able to filter through.
It'd look beautiful.
Gabby's parents are my godparents, and when I was in year 12, I was in a play at school, and they caught this wonderful picture of me in a tutu in a play, and they never let me forget it. So
I don't even remember that.
You look beautiful, Arnie. We might share that on socials.
Should I get some photos? I guess I'm with you.
Yeah. We'll put some. I mean, if you don't mind, we can put some up from us back in the day, guys.
I'll find some for you.
Tankers, if you want to find us, it's at Money in the Tank at YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So yeah, and we're very shortly, Tankers. I know you've been asking for it. We're definitely trying to get someone on to talk crypto with us. Someone who's got a bit more expertise than Joel or I. So in the near future, that will be happening. So thanks very much, all.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.